Welcome to The Intuitive Therapist with Janis R. Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense, deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist here on the Intuitive Therapist podcast. I do a lot of research on the internet. I always like to read articles that other people have written just so I can get insight too. And one day I was surfing the internet and I came upon this article. I'm going to read it word for word because I did not write it, and the author is Jamie Varone, Jamie. Last name is V as in Victor, Aron. It really spoke to me in so many ways. I think perhaps that day I was maybe struggling a little bit, feeling like on that day I wasn't doing enough. And I can tell you honestly, I'm probably my harshest critic. I am probably the hardest person on me. That's been that way all my life, and really have felt like I'm not looking for pity here, but academically life was tough for me, and a lot of people didn't know about my empathic sensitivities. A lot of people didn't know that I had learning disabilities, still do, dyslexia and ADD. And so I floundered much of my academic career until, I was in mid-college. And even beyond that, socially, I struggled to feel like I fit in. I kind of always thought I had friends, but my friendships changed a lot. And it always seemed, I felt like my whole life seemed to be just a chronic comparison to everybody else who I felt like had everything that I wanted. And that really kind of fucked up belief that I wasn't enough, that I just can't win for losing, that, God, why is it easy for some people? I look at their life and I'm like, my God, I used to say to myself, why can't that be me? I didn't realize that even though what looked good on the outside, each of those people had a struggle that was just as large as the one I was experiencing in terms of not feeling good enough. And so it wasn't until later on in my life that I just was like, screw this. I'm not going to compare myself to anybody. What I did was I shifted my perspective because I've always seen the vision of my life. I've always known that I am meant to reach the masses. I just didn't know what that meant or what that looked like. And yes, it's become much clearer over time. Thank you to Spirit and the angels and my spirit guide team and all of the people that I've come in contact with over time. My dear friends, my family, people who didn't believe in what I do, would always tell me to take the traditional path. And I knew in my heart, I'm like, you know what? I can't listen to you anymore. I can't. I have to do my thing. And so that strength didn't come till later. But what I do now is I look at what other people are doing. Maybe it's just mostly in business because I do see myself in these people. I just haven't gotten there yet, and I'm on my way. But I would look at these people, and now I say they're going to serve me. They're going to be motivation. They're not going to be people who I allowed to make me feel inferior in my own mind. And once I made that shift, I was like, oh, hell yeah, it's on. It is on. And my experience in life, experiences shifted. I want to read this article that Jamie Varone wrote, and it's called Disappointed by Where You Are in Life. This powerful message is for you. You don't need more motivation. You don't need to be inspired to action. You don't need to read any more lists or posts about how you're not doing enough. We act as though we can read enough articles and Pinterest quotes, and suddenly the little switch in our brains will push us into action. But here's the thing. that nobody really talks about when it comes to success and motivation and willpower and goals and productivity and all those buzzwords. You are as you are until you're not. You change when you want to change. You put your ideas into action in the timing that is best. That's just how it happens. And if you ask me, all we really need is this: permission to be wherever the fuck we are when we're there. You're not a robot. You can't just conjure up motivation when you don't have it. Sometimes you're going through something. Sometimes life just happened. And life has happened. Life, remember life? Yeah, it teaches you things and sometimes makes you go the long way around for the biggest lessons. You don't get to control everything. You can wake up at 5 a.m. every day until you're tired and broken. But if the words or the painting or the ideas don't want to come to fruition, they won't. You can show up every day with all of your best intentions. But if it's not the time, it's just not time. You need to give yourself permission to be a human being. Sometimes the novel isn't ready to be written because you haven't met the inspiration for your main character yet. Sometimes you need 2 more years of life experience before you can make your masterpiece into something that'll feel real and true and raw to other people. Sometimes you're not falling in love because whatever it is you need to know about yourself is only knowable through solitude. Sometimes you haven't met your next collaborator. Sometimes your sadness encircles you because one day it will be the opus upon which you build your life. Logically, we all know we can't always bend life to our will, and yet we continue to try. We try so hard to manipulate and control our lives, make creativity into a game to win, take shortcuts to success because others say they have, process emotions and uncertainty as if these are linear journeys. You don't get to game the system of your life. You just don't. You don't get to control every outcome in an attempt to resist the uncertainty of something beyond what you understand. It is the very basis of being present, showing up as you are in this moment, and letting that be enough. But we don't do that. We fill every minute with productivity tools and read endless lists on how to better conquer our natural human impulses. We forget the key concept that we are as we are until we're not. We are the same until we've changed. We can improve things a bit, for instance, by practicing healthy habits and living our lives in a way that fosters growth, but we can't game timing. Timing is the one thing that we often forget to surrender to. Most of our unhappiness stems from the belief that our lives should be different than they are. We believe we have control, and our self-loathing and self-hatred comes from this idea that we should be able to change our circumstances, that we should be richer or hotter or better or happier. While holding ourselves accountable is empowering, it can often lead to a resentment and a bitterness towards ourselves that none of us need. We have to put in our best effort and then allow whatever happens to happen, and try not to feel so directly and vulnerably tied to outcomes. Opportunities often don't show up in the way we think they will. What you need is not the motivation or inspiration to create the life you want. You need less shame surrounding the idea that things are not necessarily perfect. You need to stop listening to people who are in a vastly different place in their lives. You need to stop listening to them tell you that you're just not doing or being enough. You need to let timing do its thing. You need to see lessons where you see barriers. You need to understand that what's happening right now becomes inspiration later. You need to see that wherever you are right now, guides and shapes your identity later. There's a magic beyond us that works in ways we can't understand. We can't game it. We can't 10-point list it. We can't control it. We have to just let it be. To take a step back for a moment, stop beating ourselves up into oblivion, and let the cogs turn as they will. One day, This moment will make sense. Just trust that. Give yourself permission to trust that. When I read that, it was everything that I needed to hear back when I saw it. I was at a point where I felt very downtrodden. I felt, and for much of my life, even though I do have people, and I have had people in my life who've loved me, I felt very much alone. I felt that life was an uphill battle. I felt like like I said, I couldn't win for losing. And I felt like I had to put all this pressure on myself because I just wasn't doing enough. And I know that came from people telling me that. I know it did. Some family members, some people I dated in my life, and then, of course, my own critical voice. And I always believe that I come across things at the right time. And having picked this up a while ago, I was like, I have got to read this word for word because this is so beautiful. So I ask you to, like the article said, it's like you don't get to game the system. You can push yourself and push yourself and push yourself and punish yourself for not necessarily being perfect. It truly is the shame surrounding the idea that things aren't how you think they should be in order to feel good about yourself that causes you pain. It's the shame. In previous podcasts, I've talked about the concept of values and rules. I've talked about the conditions in your life, and I've talked about the perspective of your world. Here's what I know. When we have kind of an ultimate perspective of our world, in other words, the way you think life should be, right? If you think life should be a certain way, and if it isn't, then you're in pain. And here's the deal that connects with this article too. The bottom line is this. If there's anything in your life that is causing you pain, then it doesn't match your ideal version of the world. So you either do one of two things. You change your ultimate vision to match the life conditions that you have, or you keep your ultimate vision, ultimate view of the world, and you change the life conditions. If shit's not happening in your life the way you want it to, well, it ain't supposed to. There's something perhaps that you need to do to go within and figure that out. And sometimes it may not be doing anything except just enjoying the moment. There's something amazing that happens when you just take the pressure off to have to be like somebody else. It's a horrible, horrible branding that we put on ourselves, that we're not enough, that we need to be different, that other people do things better, they're smarter, they're better looking, they just have luck, we're just unlucky. And I'm telling you, that's not the case. You have such power within you to shift your life. And when you get to a point where either you're experiencing, because change only happens along the spectrum of pain or pleasure, when you've experienced a certain pleasure in your life, you're going to do whatever you can to keep that pleasure, right? So let's say, for example, you had a certain weight and you've worked really hard. Well, you're going to make sure that you continue to exercise and eat healthy and, every now and then indulge. But you're going to commit to that. When it comes to pain, we don't change unless we're ready to. Until you reach a point of intolerable pain, you're just in a place of discomfort. It's just how far along the spectrum you are. So just understand. I had to understand this. I had to stop comparing myself to people. I look at myself in my life and I'm like, shit, I've done things other people haven't. But I don't give myself credit all the time because I want more. And I know I'm supposed to give more. I know my calling is to do that. Just haven't done it yet entirely, but I will. And I want to. So knowing that I have such a expansive future in front of me is exciting to me. And what I know is that when I'm ready to reach the pinnacle of where I want to be, I will. And what I'll do is I'll learn from people who've done it before me. I will no longer look at other people's lives and assume that I am inadequate because I don't have the same life. My life turned out to be something that I never, ever could have imagined. My timing of things, that's funny. I imagine that by a certain age, I would have different things happening. And guess what? Didn't work out that way. And so I've had to make peace with the fact that this is my life. I love my life. I have great people in my life. It just didn't happen the way I wrote the story. And so I've had to adjust along the way. So if you're disappointed in your life, quit. Quit putting the pressure on yourself to have to be different and having to do it right now. You'll do it when you do it. You will change your life when you decide to do that, and you will change it in a way that will work for you. And if you see somebody living their life and they're happy, successful overall, you may just want to reach out to them and say, hey, how'd you do that? Because I'm ready. Will you mentor me or tell me what I need to do? What's one thing I can do every day to change my life? When you're ready, the teacher appears. When you're ready to change your life, you will. Just lean into that. Take the pressure off. Because I have faith in you. I have faith in me. And I know that you are meant to experience pleasure. And sometimes you have to go through some yucky times to do that. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you're able to exhale knowing that life is the way it is right now until you decide to change it. And that's a privilege. It's not a criticism. If you would like a reading around any part of your life to identify maybe the beliefs that are stopping you, holding you back, the challenges that are in your way, or specific ways, because Spirit gives me specific ways that I help my clients change their life, call me. I'll do a reading for you. They're crazy, amazing readings. And things come through that I couldn't ever possibly tell you as Janice. I just get the information as a channel. Call me, 404-558-3971, or go to my website and send me an email, janisrcohen.com. And if you like what you hear, please go to iTunes and rate and review. It takes 2 seconds. It would really help me get the word out to other people. It would increase my ranking. I would really, really appreciate that. And as always, have a wonderful day, a blessed week, and live intuitively.
Thanks for listening to The Intuitive Therapist with Janis R. Cohen. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend and subscribe, rate, and review at iTunes.